It's a real grandmother story. So don't use too much intellectual things. It's a simple one. See, she said that those who believe in God just believe in His blessings and they have full right on God. She told a story that once a man had to go and see God. Now don't ask question how is it possible, but it's a story. And on his way he met a gentleman who was doing Hatha Yoga, Western style. Sometimes he was standing on his head and sometimes standing on one leg and then tying up his hair to some branches and dangling himself and shouting, "Oh God, oh God, oh God." This fellow got frightened, the way he was on. His bones were showing, all his bones, skeleton. He said, "Now what are you doing?" He said, "You see, I'm calling God, when will I see Him?" He said, "All right, I'm going to see God now. I'll tell Him, but till then, at least don't go to this extreme, it's too much. And you settle down. I'll go and tell God that He must come and see you, otherwise this is going on too much." Then he went ahead and he saw one gentleman just on the side of the road, was sitting there. He said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" He said, "I'm doing nothing. God is doing everything. What am I to do?" So he said, "I'm going to see God. Have you any message?" No, you just tell Him, "You see, I have not eaten my food today and He is not bothered. Please tell Him to send all my food properly to me and tell Him that I need the food." So this fellow said, "Look at this arrogant fellow who ordered God like this." And he says God is doing everything and he's just relaxing and ordering God. So he went to God. And whatever work he had, he finished with God and all that, and then he looked little perplexed. So God asked him, "What's the problem?" He said, "I have 2 more jobs to be done. There is one fellow who met me on my way and he was doing all these horrible things to his body. And he said that I hope I'll meet God with all this." "Oh, I know him very well," God said. "All right, go and tell him that you have to do some more of this. It's not sufficient." So he got a shock of his life. He said, "Look at this, God has no compassion at all. How does he say?" So the other fellow he told about, the one who was just on the roadside. So he said, "Oh, he hasn't got his food. How can it be?" God called all his managers, everyone. He said, "How is it you have not given him food? Please, arrange immediately." So he was surprised that what sort of a thing it is. And this fellow is just ordering God and God is looking after this fellow. So God, as He knows about everything, He told him, "All right, you are perplexed, all right, you go down and tell them one story. It's a tall story, but you tell them and see their reaction." So said the story was that you go and tell them that I saw God passing a camel through an eye of a needle. He said, "All right, I will do that." To both of them you tell and see their reactions, and then you will know why I did it. So he went to the first fellow and told him that God has said, "Still you have to do more of these things. He'll come and meet you, but you have to do more." He said, yes. "Then he will meet, so I will do more and more and more." Then he said, "And what happened at God's place?" He said, "It's something miraculous." "What was that?" He said, "The God passed a camel through an eye of a needle." He said, "Must be a very big needle." He said, "No, just ordinary one." He said, "How can that be? Now, you have been to God, so you are telling me stories. You can't get along with me like this. I understand this is all false, just telling me stories." So This gentleman said, all right, I'll go to the other gentleman. So he went to him. He was having his food. He said, oh, sit down, sit down. God has sent all food for me. I know, once I tell him, there's no need to tell him also. He really looks after me. But he wanted to have some message, so I said to him, but how much he has sent food for me? How can I eat all that? So this fellow was surprised, you see. So he said, what happened? You went to God, what did you see then? He said, I went and I saw a camel was passed through an eye of an eagle. A very small needle, I tell you. And I saw it. He said, so what? What's so surprising? After all, he's God. What is there for him, for a camel? He can pass universes after universes. He's God Almighty. What is so miraculous for him? Then he realized, this is what it is. If you have faith, God wants to establish it. Only your faith works it.